first day, he picks me up in his good old Rambler American, and I get in the car, and on the floor is a tin can and a flashlight. And I'm thinking, wonder what this is all about. We went into Deering Oaks to get night crawlers.
I fish like a mad woman. Sometimes you can't get me to stop, and one could say your addictive personality is kicked in with fishing. And I look at that and go, is my life unmanageable? Is it causing me problems? I don't think so.
It's very hard to tie a fly today, a featherwing streamer, and not be able to find a little bit of Carrie Stevens methods in it. And she raised that whole craft arguably to an art form.
Welcome to the beginning of Season 4 of the Flyline Podcast, where we enjoy the interesting stories behind the legendary guides and luminaries connected to Maine fishing. I'm Michael Jones. I hope that our audience enjoyed the 2025 fishing season and are ready to hear more great podcast episodes from our wonderful guests. Today, I'm honored to be joined by a very special guest, Shawn Gorman. Shawn Gorman is the chairman of LL Bean and the great-grandson of Leon Wood Bean, the visionary who founded the iconic outdoor company in 1912. Though his path didn't begin inside the company walls, we will hear how Shawn's journey from selling pagers and shaping LL Bean's global strategy is a story of growth, legacy, and a deep-rooted love for the outdoors. In this episode, Shawn shares reflections on his family's history, his personal upbringing, and his unique entry into the business. We talk about the evolution of LL Bean, including the launch of the LL Bean Visa Card, international expansion, and the company's commitment to sustainability, highlighted by ongoing renovations at the flagship store and the unique outdoor discovery program that invites people to experience nature firsthand. Shawn also speaks candidly about the values that guide his leadership, the role of merit in the company's culture, and the restorative power of time spent in the outdoors. From Maine's rivers, coasts, and interior, it is clear that the outdoors isn't just a business. For Shawn Gorman, it is a way of life. Shawn Gorman, welcome to the Flyline Podcast.
Yeah, it's great to be here with you, Michael. I heard your podcast with Tom Ackerman. I love how you drew out Tom's story. It was so authentic, and I'm looking forward to being able to share some of the same about me with you today. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Shawn. Tom really is a great person to have a conversation with. He's a natural conversationalist, and he loves you. And so it was with his recommendation that I get to know you and also to have you on the podcast because you have a really great story to tell, and I want you to share it with the audience today.
Sure, happy to. Yeah.
I think for just housekeeping, Shawn, it would really help. Like when I was walking in the building today, for the audience, I'm down at I'm in Freeport with Shawn Gorman, a chairman of LL Bean. And when I was walking in your office today, Shawn, I noticed you have a mural on the wall that talks about the line of succession of your family. Can you expand on that?
Sure. Yeah. So Leon Wood Bean, was my great-grandfather. And obviously, people who know Bean know that LL started with his famous hunting shoe back in 1912, started his company. And the line of succession is LL had 3 children. Of those 3 children, the second generation, they had 2 of them had 5 children between them. So the third generation at LL Bean is 5 people. Of those 5 people, 3 of them had children, and that's the 4th generation of which I'm a member of. So my father, Jim Gorman, is one of 3 brothers who were the grandsons of LL Bean and the sons of LL's daughter, Barbara Bean, or Barbara Gorman, hence the name change. So that's it. Jack Gorman married LL's daughter, Barbara, and that's where the Gorman name came into our family lineage.
That's really helpful. Now, I was doing a little research, Shawn, and I think that the internet is incorrect. I think they say that your father was Leon Gorman.
Right. You hear a lot of people because I'm the chairman and Leon was the chairman, but no, Leon's my uncle.
That's right.
Right. So my dad, was an engineer, and back when he graduated from UMaine with his engineering degree, if he had the opportunity to work at LL Bean or go down to Massachusetts and work at Western Electric, he said that was a really easy decision back then because LL Bean wasn't doing much in the late 50s in terms of growth or expansion.
You said what kind of engineering was he studying? Had studied?
He's electrical engineer.
Electrical engineer. So probably not a big calling at LL Bean for that.
No, but a brilliant mind. I still think he's the smartest man I've ever met.
Tell me more about growing up where you did and who your parents were.
Sure. So, my dad was Jim Gorman. He, again, the grandson of LL, and he had two brothers, Leon Gorman and Tom Gorman. And dad was the middle child. And he, again, got his degree from UMaine in engineering. And when he took a job in Massachusetts, he and my mom moved to New Hampshire and just across the border and from Massachusetts and
Was it
in
Exeter?
Kingston. Well, we started in Kingston and then really I was raised in Exeter. But yeah, he raised the family there. And my dad worked for 30 plus years at Western Electric as an engineer. My mom stayed home and raised the four of us kids and took care of us and kept the house. And we had a pretty normal kind of middle class
Love it.
upbringing and with
Good.
all sorts of cool activities, but not a lot of connection to LL Bean. I mean, my dad was a board member
Interesting.
at Bean when they formed a board in the early 70s, but had no real functioning role or operational role at the company.
Brothers and sisters?
Brothers and sisters. I'm the youngest of four. I have my two older brothers, then my sister, and then myself. I'm about 3.5 years younger than my sister, so I may not have been planned, but my mom assures me that I was a welcome addition to the family. And but it was interesting, growing up as the youngest of four, and in a family that my mom is, super frugal. So I don't know if this is relevant or not, but I was always getting my hand-me-downs from my brothers. And there's a funny story about, I was in 5th grade and I was the only kid in my 5th grade class who didn't have a brand new pair of Bean boots. And people actually it was a joke, and nobody had any idea that my family had anything to do with Bean.
No.
I just had these really well-worn Bean boots all the time, and all these kids were coming with their shinier boots. And I remember going home and crying to my mom and asking her why. And she's like, "Your boots are so much better than theirs." And
But you, as an interesting twist, I don't think you fully realized how connected you were to LL Bean, or even what LL Bean was when you were a kid. Were you?
no, not really. So, the company was, obviously, by the time I came around, my Uncle Leon had taken over the company. LL passed in 1967. I was born in 1965. LL passed in 1967. That's when Leon took over. And Leon did a beautiful job of modernizing the company and taking it to another level and making it the global brand it is today.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have very much interaction with it. And I knew it was a family business. Like, all of my relatives were in Yarmouth or South Freeport or this area, and we'd come up to visit all the time. And when I'd have Thanksgiving at Leon's house with my family, the kids would drive up, our older brothers would drive us up to the store, and we would walk around and check things out. And we knew we had a connection, but it wasn't as relevant. Like, none of my friends in Exeter ever knew I was connected to the company. And then when I went to a school in North Andover, Mass, at a prep school, Brooks School, I remember looking at all these kids wearing Bean boots and Norwegian fisherman sweaters and looked like they stepped out of a LL Bean catalogs in the mid-'80s. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. These guys were all wearing my family's product, but it still didn't even resonate with me about if Bean was a big deal. So I never really thought too much about it, and certainly never thought about ever working here.
No, and we spent a little bit of time together, Shawn. I can tell that you don't carry an air of pretension with you. You're very down to earth, and I think the story that you just told about your family and your roots kind of is a testimony to who you are as a person in general. And I think that's why you have such a strong. I mean, your employees love you. Everyone that I know that knows you just thinks the world of you and says you're just a gentle giant.
Oh,
yeah,
that's nice to hear.
Well, it's a nice thing to say, and it's deserving. But you also have a story, if you don't mind sharing it, Shawn. Tell me about your Uncle Leon coming to visit you, because I think there was a kind of a turning point in it. You must have been maybe a teenager, or maybe. Do you remember when the grouse story?
I do.
Can
I
you
know
share that?
Sure. It's a great story.
I love it.
Obviously, the holidays, we'd either come up to Maine or the other relatives would come down. And this happened to be one of the holidays where Leon and his family came down to our house for Thanksgiving. And I was down at one of the neighbors' house, and they had a big picture window, and I was hanging out with one of my friends, and there was this just massive explosion. It sounded like a bomb went off, and we're like, what was that? And we looked and saw a mark on the picture window. We walked outside, and a rough grouse flew directly into the picture window and broke its neck and was lying dead on the ground. And I kind of picked up the bird and said, wow, that's a big bird. I think that's a grouse. So I took it and walked up the street to my house and showed my dad and Leon. And Leon's like, oh, wow, that's a nice bird. That's a rough grouse. And I said, what should we do with it? And he goes, well, somebody should eat it. So Leon dressed the bird, got it
on the spot.
On the spot, like
Yeah.
at our house. I mean, he was in our, but he got, totally got it prepped for cooking.
Yeah.
We brought it back down to my friend's house, they were just blown away. And the dad was just like, are you telling me that, I've got a bird here that the president of LL Bean dressed for me and prepared for me to cook? And he goes,
royalty.
what a story that's going to be. I can't believe and I was just like struck by that. And I was like, is that a big deal? And I was like, yeah, you know what? I guess that's a pretty big deal. And, the notoriety of the company and even the notoriety of my uncle at that time was really kind of resonated with me. And I was like, okay, that's probably the first time I really had an inkling that, oh, maybe this family business is something special.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Thank you. You tell it well. I want to tell you a quick grouse story if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was this time of year. I was coming out of the Rapid River because the river was too high to fish. I was with a client. I had just bought a new to me Jeep Grand Cherokee, all the bells and whistles. And it's like today, Bluebird Day, got the windows down, driving about 30, 40 miles an hour on the dirt road coming out of the Rapid River. And we're heading to the McGalloway because the flow is okay to fish over there. So we're going to basically go out, fish there, come back. I've got the window down, and out of the corner of my eye, wearing a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses, and out of the corner of my eye, something just in my peripheral vision catches just as a grouse hits me square in the face. So that bird's going however fast a grouse flies, 15, 20, 25 miles an hour, in the opposite direction in which I'm traveling, which I'm going 25, 30 miles an hour. So what I want you to imagine, Shawn, is taking an M80 firecracker and putting it inside a bag of lawn clippings and water and lighting it on the inside of your vehicle and have it explode. The whole inside of this new to me Grand Cherokee was covered with green, whatever is inside of a grouse. So the bird falls down into the wheel well of my client who's sitting in the passenger seat in the front. And of course, when a grouse dies, Shawn, they flutter for about 10 seconds, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a chicken with his head cut off, no pun intended. And Mike, it's still alive. It's still alive. And he's kicking at it with his feet. And I said, it's going to be okay. He'll be dead in a second. And sure enough, the boom, 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 boom went away. So what do? It's springtime. We ate it.
Why not?
You can't throw away a grouse. Yeah,
right.
It's a wonderful form of food. Shawn, let's thanks for letting me share that. Let's go back to you. You mentioned going to prep school, but after prep school, tell me about what you studied in college and where you went to school.
Sure. So I graduated in 1984. I went to the University of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I started at UNH as a business major. So I was in the Whittemore School of Business and Economics. And after about 2 years of that, I determined that it felt like they were making accountants. It's like I'm a very analytical guy, but I have a creative need.
Yeah.
And I need that to exercise that creative part of my brain.
Right.
So the right brain needed some action. And I was like, yeah, this isn't really fulfilling and it's not really where I see myself going. So I switched my major to an English major. And I got a degree in English with the hope that I would be writing copy on Madison Avenue in, New York City and working for an ad agency down there. So cut to graduation. I took an extra semester because I switched majors. So 1989 graduate, and I am in the middle of an economic downturn, and and all of the agencies that I'm applying to say, yeah, you can come work for us, but we can't pay you. And the thought of living in New York City with no money doesn't really appeal to anyone. Certainly didn't appeal to me. So I actually moved home, and it was the first time I'd been home in, boy, like 8 years, because I went away to school as a boarding student, and then I was in college for 4 years. So moving back home with mom and dad for a little bit was tough, because my mom was the kind of person who would, uh, wake me up at 7 a.m. with a newspaper and say, here's the job section, go get something.
Good for her.
She was great.
Yeah.
She's still great.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to have had that push from her. But yeah, every day I was looking, and I was out looking at jobs, and some that I was just like, I cannot do this, and some that were like, maybe, and eventually landed the job in with a small private telephone company in Maine. And I was working in their sales team, and I was selling pagers. So it's interesting, because I tell my kids that I sold pagers, and my kids are like, what's a pager?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was something that, I was desperate to take just about any job.
So you were going into hospitals, and you were going
hospitals,
into small businesses.
City of Portland, small businesses, trucking companies, trying to, connect with whomever needed these things at the time. But, way pre-cell phone. This is, again, 89.
I'm surprised. I think that doctors still rely on pagers.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still do, right? I mean, they're much more refined now than they were, and they're not that, they're all the digital pagers that, they're not, sending voice of God through these things anymore. But
no, your patient is ready for surgery.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks for sharing that. Anything else happen after that?
Yeah. So what happened after that was, a couple of years of that, I was like, wow, this is great. I mean, like, great. I have an idea of what I never want to do. So it's like some of those jobs, and the learnings from the jobs are like learning that you never want to do this job. So I had two brothers who were working at Bean. And the real reason I didn't come to Bean initially was because of this recession that we're in as a country. Bean had done some layoffs in 89, and I was not about to roll in and say, hey, here I am, give me a job, when, a couple of hundred people might have just lost theirs. So I waited a few years, and in 1991, I joined the company after talking with my brothers about the company. Really interestingly, having not grown up here and not known a ton about the company, my exposure to the company was largely through my uncle or some of the senior level people in the company. And they were fairly serious people, right? And I'm a fairly serious guy, but I like to have fun too. When I was 19 or 20 or 22 even, the idea of like going and joining a stuffy company didn't appeal to me. But my brothers were like, that's those people. The company is made up of people just like you, who love the outdoors, love to hunt and fish, love to hike and bike, and you should really give it a shot. So I joined the company in July of 91 in the advertising department, but as an analyst. So I got to use the right and left side of my brain.
That's great.
And it was a great job in marketing, and it taught me the basics of direct marketing, which LL Bean is, a master of, the company. And it was a really great fit, but the best part was the people. The people of LL Bean are just fantastic. And the reason why I've stayed here for, 34 years now.
Yeah. Just talking with Brenda, she's been with the business longer than you have.
Oh, she has. So interestingly, Brenda is my executive assistant. And when I started, Brenda was the assistant to my boss at the time. So Brenda has effectively been my assistant for that entire time. I mean, I've gone to different roles and had different support casts, but I've known Brenda forever, and it's nice to have had her, come around so that we could work together over the years.
Well, let's talk about the personalities a little bit, because like you said, right brain, left brain, your great-grandfather was an innovator. He made soap when he was at Kent's Hill and sold it. He was an entrepreneur, but he was also creative. He made the hunting shoe, right? And So this long period of time happens where he's basically developing products, engineering ideas to production. And then was it Jim that had more of the business mind, the more analytical mind? So the president and founder of
LL Bean.
his son took over when he passed away. It was
Very briefly, Carl Bean.
So Carl took over.
Yeah, Carl took over.
So Leon Gorman,
Mm-hmm.
not the original.
Right, my uncle.
Your uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Was he more of an analytical thinker? That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, no, it's interesting. No.
Because he transformed the business at that time.
He did. But, I think I would say, so here's the deal. I'll share a little bit of that. LL passed away in 67,
Yep.
and Carl took over for a brief period of time.
Okay.
But Carl passed away 6 months later, 6 months after his dad.
Wow.
So LL was 94. Carl, I believe, was in his late 60s.
Okay.
And that's when Leon, who had just joined the company in 62, became the president. So imagine, LL Bean as a $5 million company, perhaps in 67. Leon takes the reins and he starts thinking about our catalog company and thinking about how the operations run.
Yeah.
And he had probably been trying to give his grandfather advice over the course of 5 years. He actually writes about it in his book. But LL famously said to all the changes Leon wanted to make, I already eat 3 square meals a day. I don't need a 4th. Why would I want to grow this place? And it's a great line, but Leon took that as motivation so that when he was in control, that he could streamline, modernize, bring in professional management, take care of some of the, call it deadwood, if you would, in the company,
yeah.
and get us into sales growth. And it was a great time for that. I mean, you imagine the early 70s, where everybody was sending checks in for their mail order products. Credit cards became popular. Fast forward to like the late 70s, early 80s, 800 numbers became popular. So now you don't have to write in, you can call in to place your order. And couple that with some success like the Preppy Handbook, which put LL Bean on the kind of map in terms of national kind of,
I totally forgot about that till you just mentioned it.
It just, that really popped our sales. And that's when, again, as I'm starting high school in the 80s, we're just about peaking. And that's why everybody was wearing this stuff. This Preppy Handbook was out there kind of saying, here's the look you need.
I think that the company transformed from being an iconic Maine company to becoming more of an international icon. I know as a tradition, I grew up outside of Augusta. We would always get a gift certificate to LL Bean from my grandfather. He lived in North Carolina. It would be a $100 gift certificate. He'd save all of his extra money. I would get one. My brother Patrick would get one. And it was a family tradition because your doors are always open.
Yeah.
That we would have Christmas, have a dinner, and then we would drive down to LL Bean on Christmas Day. And it felt like it was a Maine community. There weren't a lot of people from out of state, certainly that time of year because it was Christmas,
Right.
but it really has blossomed into something entirely different. And in that, you've kept your roots, but at the same time, I think it's turning into a tradition for people that like to visit Maine. One of their first stops is to come to your flagship store.
Yeah, I look at Freeport as kind of the gateway to the outdoors for Maine, right? We attract, I think we're the second biggest attraction, our flagship store, to Acadia National Park in Maine.
Right.
So it's a big draw. And I think there's that history of, staying open 24/7 that appeals to people. But the long history of serving presidents and baseball greats like Ted Williams and Babe Ruth, who write letters and to LL, and we have all these things in our archives. They're just these beautiful stories of the connection of LL Bean, the store, and the man to Maine.
Right.
And it's, if you go to Maine and you're visiting and you don't go to LL Bean, everybody would say, why didn't you go to LL Bean? And I love that. It's such a wonderful thing to have, but it's great. Like Freeport is that gateway to the outdoors. It's where people stop on their way up to Acadia. It's where people stop to get their last minute supplies on the way up to Western Maine and go fishing on the Magalloway or the Rapid. It's
exactly,
it's where people go when they want to get their supplies to go up and hike Katahdin. So it is that gateway.
It also goes in the other direction too, Shawn. Like Sherry and I just went to the Bahamas for a few weeks, and we love to come to beans on a rainy day. It's a great rainy day activity, but we need to get new flip-flops and a new tote bag for our trip.
Yeah.
And so you've turned into not only a main travel destination, but also, you're really there to outfit people for any of their outdoor pursuits anywhere in the world.
We like to think so. I mean, and again, it's all about being outside for us. I mean, that is our reason for being. It's LL talked about hunting and fishing as the big lure that took him into the great outdoors and away from the mean and petty things in life. And I love that quote.
Yeah.
And my uncle Leon talked about the spiritual and physical benefits of time outside. And we all know the physical benefits, but those spiritual benefits. And I talk about in this kind of hyper-stressed, hyper-competitive world that we find ourselves in, that there's an order to nature, right? And a cadence to nature that helps calm you. So when I'm getting overwhelmed at work, I go outside and I look at what's going on in the natural world and I get away from it all, and it just settles me. And I think there's science that talks about time outside and how it helps people become more connected socially. It helps them become more grounded and less anxious and feel that they're connected to something larger. And that community of the outdoors, I think, is very calming and healthy. So that's our reason for being, and that's why we want to get people outside.
Yeah.
And then we sell the products to help you do that. So whether that outside is hiking Katahdin or whether that outside is having a backyard barbecue, we want you outside.
Yeah.
And that's our goal. So I love that you think and say, hey, we can outfit people for their activities wherever they go around the world. We feel that, and we think we're the best to do that.
You are. And I have to comment on that, Shawn. I agree. And I know you've talked before about the restorative powers of time spent in the outdoors. You had a great interview on the Today Show with Al Roker.
Yeah.
And it was eloquent the way you put it, but it's really true in that I've always maintained that you can't go, just for our purposes, you can't go on a fishing trip and come back with the same level of problems that you left with.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean.
How many major life decisions? I know I can. Have you made major life decisions in your mind while you were out on a hiking trip or on a fishing trip or standing in a kayak or whatever? I know I have. I've decided I was going to marry somebody while I was on a fishing trip. I've decided, during a backcountry ski trip that I was going to change my occupation.
Yeah.
I think the outdoors speaks to people in a way that they don't realize. It's subtle.
Yeah, no, it is. I have definitely made, because one makes their best decisions, I think, in those moments of less stress. The stress doesn't help you make good decisions, right? And being in those environments where you are relaxed or enjoying or connecting with and finding your passion or participating in that sport that's your passion. That's when we are at our best and when we make our best decisions. Interestingly, career change, I was working at LL Bean. I was like, this is great. They actually give me time off to go play in the outdoors. So it's like, from a career change standpoint, I never made any major decision about, hey, having to change it, because I always felt like working in this company has been like the most fun I could do. I just, again, love the people, love our purpose, and love that we encourage people to get outside. Yeah.
Well, Shawn, thank you for sharing that. And what I'd like to do, let's take a short break. And when we come back, I'd like to hear about how you started to progress with LL Bean with regards to your career.
That sounds great. Happy to do that.
In this Flyline flashback, we head upstream into the heart of a battle that wasn't won by turbines and dollars, but by trout, rivers, and the people who fished them. This is a story of the Big A Dam, a massive hydroelectric project that almost changed the west branch of the Penobscot River forever. Picture it, Millinocket, the early 1980s. The roar of Big Amberjack Mockamus Falls echoes in the shadow of Mount Katahdin. On one bank, mill workers worry about job security. On the other, whitewater rafting enthusiasts and fly fishers admire the beauty of the free-flowing section of river and unique rapids. Between them stands a proposal from the Great Northern Paper Company to build a $100 million concrete dam, 15 stories tall, right at Big A Falls. The goal? Generate power for the region's struggling mills. But the proposed dam would have flooded at least 4 miles of one of Maine's most cherished whitewater corridors, drowning pristine habitat for wild trout and landlocked salmon. Rafters, guides, and conservationists raised alarm, not only for the ecological impact, but for the loss of a river that supported both local sporting tradition and tourism. The controversy sparked one of Maine's most passionate conservation campaigns. Led by the Natural Resources Council of Maine and the Coalition to Save the West Branch rallied public opposition. Meanwhile, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission deemed the dam application deficient on several major counts, including dam safety, environmental impact, and lack of alternative plans. On March 13, 1986, Great Northern Paper officially pulled the plug on the project. That decision marked a pivotal moment in Maine's environmental history. Not only did it preserve a legendary stretch of wild river, but it also laid the groundwork for future efforts like the Penobscot River Restoration Project. Today, Big A Falls still roars, trout and salmon still rise, and fly fishers still cast into one of the finest stretches of water in the state, because the river stayed a river. And now, back to the second half of this episode. Shawn, you mentioned credit cards earlier. You had a big part in the evolution of the company. Am I correct in saying you had a big hand at play with creating the LL Bean Visa card or MasterCard, whatever it was originally?
There was the Visa card, so now currently a MasterCard, but yes.
And I have one.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
You were working originally, and you said in advertising and marketing?
So my job progression started in advertising when I worked there from 91 to 93. And interestingly, while I was there, one of the publications that we were buying ads in, and I was measuring the response to see how they did, started to become these Japanese publications. So interestingly, we had this really big cross-border shopping from Japan. The yen was really strong and it became really in vogue for Japanese to buy from American catalogs. They were performing so well that we decided to form an international division. So in 93, I left my advertising role and I went to work on our newly founded international division. And that was a lot of fun. So I worked on the catalog logistics, getting the catalogs into the 205 countries that we're kind of mailing to. And I got to run international operations and call center for a while, which was terrific, and learned a lot about global marketing in that role as well. From there, and I was there until 1998, so 5 years in that international and varying roles.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I just get fortunate, my timing, I would say. But in 97, 98, we were just starting our internet business. So it officially launched. Our first order was in December of 96. And it was a pair of boots that somebody ordered from Alaska. So that's the first LLB web order ever.
I love it.
Yeah, pretty cool. But I joined in early 98, our e-commerce division as the marketing manager.
Oh, wow.
And it was a $4 million business when I joined in 1998. I spent 4 years there, and this just talks about the growth of that channel. When I left 4 years later, it was nearly a $400 million business. And it was a lot of catalog demand that was migrating to the web and the novelty of the web. But the web today is over $1 billion channel for us, and our largest channel, and it was just fun to have been a part of it. It was so entrepreneurial. I loved it. You know, I introduced email marketing to LLB, and maybe people will hate me for that based on the amount of emails you get in your folder now. But we did our first online marketing campaigns and tracking ads and tagging people, and kind of the precursor to the incredible big data marketing that's done today. But it was a lot of fun. It was really educational. I was there from 98 to 2002, and 2002 is when I joined partnership marketing. And one of the things in partnership marketing was this credit card that we had launched in 1996. So the card was 6 years old at the time. And it had a pretty decent following. We were issued by MBNA that people remember up in, Camden and Belfast. Yep. But what I noticed very quickly about the card was that it was that the value that we were bringing to the card. People had the card because it was an LL Bean credit card, not because it was issued by MBNA. Yet all the equity in that card was going to the bank. So while I didn't introduce the card, I monetized the card for Bean. And I restructured deals to ensure that this brand equity, that's LL Beans, was getting the credit it deserved in the card relationships. And I transitioned the card program. MBNA was acquired by Bank of America. I transitioned from Bank of America to Barclays in 2008. And that was just a huge boon for the company financially. And it still continues to be a highly profitable part of our business, but also an absolutely great benefit for people who use it.
Oh yeah,
I go up and use my Bean Bucks all the time.
Yeah, and if I have to make a major purchase, an airline ticket as an example, or a rental car for a week on a travel trip, I always make sure that I put it on my Beans card so that I can earn the points, and it just feels right.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people would echo that same sentiment. It's LL Bean has always been a part of my family. It's always been a part of your family. I think it's been a large part of everyone's family that grew up in the area, and so it's just a natural fit to have a Beans card. I'd like to go back to when you started to work with the company, Shawn, and you did join the family business.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the family has a reputation of really not using nepotism. You have to earn your space in order to be on the team. Was there ever any time that you can think of when you were working with either your team or with other coworkers where you felt like you had to do more?
Yeah.
To basically prove where you deserve the job.
I think so. I'll tell you one of the funny things. When I first started in advertising, I was in a meeting with my boss, and he got a call, and he said, "Hang on a second," and he took a call, and he said that was HR, and I said, "Oh, that's great." And he said, "They're checking in on you to see how you're doing," and I said, "You're doing just fine." I said, "Oh, is that common? Do you get that for all your employees?" And he's like, "No, only you." So I thought, okay, so there is a lens that is out there. And, I can get that. Like, I'm sure my uncle, who was the CEO at the time, was looking at the nieces and nephews and sons and daughters that were here just to ensure that you're pulling your weight, right? This is a place where merit counts. And it's great that we can have a job. And it goes back to actually LL, who offered a job to Leon. We have a letter in our archives from 1962. Leon was just getting out of the Navy, and he said, "Grandpa, I'm out of the Navy now, and I'm looking for a job. Do you think I could come and talk to you?" And he said, "Sure, we have a job for you here, but we have a job for you here that you're qualified for, and we just want to let you know, or I want to let you know that as you advance in this company, you'll do that based on your success and your merit." And I think Leon took that to another level and just wanted to ensure that the family was pulling its weight, and the individuals in the family. And I will tell you, there have definitely been roles that I thought maybe I should have had, but it was probably close enough where they just erred on the side of, I'm going to appoint this person so we don't look nepotistic. And I don't think that I had to work any harder than anyone else at Bean. People at Bean work really hard. Like, they're committed and they're passionate about their work. But I did make sure that I was putting my hours in. I was here early. I was staying late. I wasn't the last one in, the first one out by any means. It was more the opposite. And you put your time in and you earn your stripes. And honestly, you demonstrate success. And I had, in all of the roles, whether it was my advertising job, my job in international, or my job in e-com, I was putting my mark on things, and I was touching things and generating profit. And it was
with an English major.
With an English major.
So where was that coming from?
It's again, I think I might have mentioned early on that I'm probably like more a left brain guy. Like I'm a like a 750 SAT guy on the math side, and probably a 600 guy on the English side, right? So it was then my strength was always analytic and math.
Okay.
But I had this need and desire for creativity, and that's why I became that English major. But that analytic brain worked really well at being, and then my ability to communicate the results of data that I was looking at translated into me being a really good analyst because I could communicate what I saw with my bosses and say, and put in layman's terms of, hey, here's what this is showing and here's what we should be doing more of or less of. And that was really helpful. And, the creativity side helps in, I'm analytical and I can look at a P&L and understand it really well. But I can also look at a contract and say, you know what? We're stuck here. I have some creative solutions for this. So it works well. I hear a lot of people say, hey, oh my God, the English majors, what are you going to do when you graduate? You know what? You can do anything. Yep. Our CEO, Steve Smith, is an art history major. Right. So it's attitude and aptitude, I think, today, or has always been about attitude and aptitude. And so I just happen to be pretty well left brain, right brain balanced.
Yeah, well, you put that well, and I think it's true. It comes through. Obviously, the business has grown exponentially. And one of the things that we didn't talk about was you had the original store. And I remember, I never saw it, Shawn, but I remember some of my clients, like older fly fishermen, that would reminisce about the old store and the creaky stairs.
Yeah.
And then they built the store that I know now. And now that's coming down.
Part of it.
Let's talk about that.
Part of it, sure.
What's going on?
So, LL being the flagship store, it's an old Yankee farmhouse, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we need a new building. We're going to tack one on. We need an update. We're going to take this down. Largely, that old building that LL was originally in back in 1917 when he opened up the retail store, that had an external staircase on it. So that was the really old store, which I never saw.
Right.
But the Warren Block, which is where he bought, and when we changed the entrance to that store, probably in the 40s, introduced a set of stairs that was very steep. Steep stairs had a plateau and another steep stairs up to the selling space. And it was interesting. Those are the old creaky stairs that people talk about, and they were super steep. But the cool thing, I'll tell you a fun story about that.
I love it.
On the landing of that staircase, there was a third floor, like in between the bottom floor and where you ultimately ended up, there's a sandwich floor. And that's where LL's offices were. And LL didn't want to walk up all the stairs and then walk downstairs to go to the office. So we put a little slider at that landing. And there was a buzzer under one of the handrails. And you'd press the buzzer and the door would open and somebody would open the door and LL would go into his office. And, again, he was probably getting pretty old at that time, probably in his 70s or so. And at any rate, by the time I was a kid, that had turned into like some computer room. So in the 70s, where I'm like a 8-year-old kid, I know about the buzzer, right? It was one of the things we're told about. So in the buzzer, they never disconnected and it was really loud. So I'd sit there and I'd stand leaning against that thing with my hand behind my back on the buzzer. And as people walked up the stairs and got by me, I would buzz that buzzer and just scare the hell out of people.
Mischievous.
Yeah, total mischievous kid and delinquent. And it was so much fun. And people would look around and I'd be like looking around like I didn't know where that noise came from. But it was, so one of the little secrets of that stairwell.
Did you keep the buzzer?
You know what? I didn't, but
it should be in your archive.
Yeah. That's actually funny. I don't know if you see this buzzer here, and I know
do.
we're on a podcast, so the people at home can't see it. But on my on one of my shelves, I have a series of buttons. There's probably 10 buttons on it, and interestingly, I have another picture in my office. If you look back, it's LL with my dad and his two brothers, and my dad's probably 10 years old, so this is probably taken in 42.
Mm-hmm.
And it's LL in his office at LL Bean, and you can see just to his right, there's a little buzzer that he used to call the different people to come into his office, and that is the buzzer from LL's office.
Sherry and I will put this on our website on the blog spot for this episode. Yeah. So the audience definitely look at those because they're kind of iconic main history here. And thanks for sharing that, Shawn. I can
Yeah.
see it. So let's go back to the construction.
Yeah, the
again.
construction.
So there we are.
Yeah, so call it 70s. We're kind of in the 70s, and Bean is still kind of creaky. I'd say it was about 82-ish, where we had another big retrofit of the store, where we had another stairway put in that was less steep, a little more customer friendly, and just expanded the store a little bit more. So that was the next big addition in the 80s, and that took some of the old original building down, kept the 1940s structure. Then fast forward to the 2000s, we built a separate building for our hunting and actually scratch that. It was for LL Kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We had an LL Bean Kids store, and that store then became the LL Bean Hunt Fish store. And right now, it's in its current iteration is the LL Bean Home store,
Right.
which is a fabulous store.
Right.
We moved the home store in 2007, because in 2007 we put the addition on the back for the Hunt Fish store as it exists now, with the beautiful, staircase and fireplace on the landing, and it's a gorgeous building. And we started looking at the flagship store, the main part of the store, and it still had, recently we were looking at this, and it still had the 3-level store. Every other part of the store was 2 stories except this 1940s building, which was 3 stories. And I'm sure you recall, but like where you go into where our camping gear is, and some of the dog supplies and water hog mats and tote bags, the ceiling height, like I'm 6'8", I knocked my head every time I went under there. It wasn't a very friendly place to shop.
Oh, okay.
Then we had a sandwich floor, which was where the employee offices were and employee break rooms, another place where you had to really watch your head.
Okay.
The 3rd floor is where we had the kids section after we moved out of that store. And they just weren't really good shopping experiences.
Yeah.
And we had, like we often do, you just have a lot of deferred maintenance on things. And we had up at the retail store a lot of like the systems like needed to be updated, and talking electrical, heat, HVAC, like just structurally it needed some work. And we decided that 1940s building really needed to come down. So we spent a lot of time, and I get to spend time on this, ensuring that the building, all the things we loved about the building, the trout pond, the fish tank, the taxidermy, is all going to remain, but that we have a little bit better experience for people to shop. And honestly, one of the big moves was a much better working environment and break room for our retail employees that's more consistent with what we have here at headquarters.
I had heard, I can't remember who I'd heard it from, and it doesn't matter, but it was some member of your team that I've always thought the retail space was wonderful. And I've always thought that any move you made always felt like an improvement. But I heard, and again, I can't remember who I heard it from, but that a lot of what was going on was obviously the systems that you just talked about, HVAC, but maybe some storage and what was going on where customers couldn't see.
Right. The behind the scenes, we, to the customer, obviously the experience is like, yeah, every improvement we make or everything we do to it is an improvement.
Right.
And that's true, with the exception, I'd say, that the shopping experience in some of those 1940s buildings were bad. Like when we emptied that building out, if we were to walk in and the landlord said, "Hey, here's a building we'd like you to lease as a potential store," we would have run. It's not good. There's a post every 5 feet. There's some, it's just not conducive to it. But behind the scenes, we were taking care of things. I mean, things were safe, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the best experience. And, we have that stakeholder philosophy. We want to make sure that our employees are very happy here too. And we built this beautiful new headquarters that you're sitting in now for most of our employees, but the retail employees were still kind of in the 1940s, if you will, in terms of the space they had. So they now have beautiful space. And I hope, if you've heard from anyone who's working there, that they love it. I've heard nothing but rave reviews about the new space and how much light is in there and how much more enjoyable it is to work there up at the retail store.
Yeah, so that's all under construction now.
It is, but it's been going on for like a couple of years now. So the employee space is all done.
Oh, okay.
It's all again,
So I can't see
behind the
that.
scenes, you can't
I
see
gotcha.
it,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
The front of the building
Yeah.
is entirely done. It's the middle section that needs to be done now. And that's what's caused us to kind of shut down most of that retail store and put up the Maine's biggest tent, which is our 28,000 square foot tent that's gone up on a parking lot just outside the Hunt Fish store.
Now, will that be for sale on Craigslist when this is all over? Or?
You know what? We actually bought it. It was cheaper for us to buy the tent than it was for us to rent the tent. And Arena, the company that does it, and they do, imagine like these big PGA tents that go up when the PGA Tour comes to town, and they have their big merch tents set up. It's the company that does that. And they're terrific, and they'll very likely buy all that back from us because it'll be fine.
But something else that's going on, whenever you have a change like you're going through right now, which is to say you're renovating the retail space at the flagship store, you have to replace a lot of things. And one of the things that I've heard recently, and I really admire you and your team for doing this, was you donated a lot of the fixtures to, I want to say, a food bank. Do I have that right?
Very well could be.
Yeah.
So I will tell you that Yankee frugality of LL,
that's right.
Is it exists here, and it's in the family values, it's in the company values. It's like when we built this headquarters we're in, we could have greenfielded probably cheaper somewhere, but we decided to repurpose an old distribution center so that we didn't have a big ugly empty warehouse sitting there in the middle of Freeport, and now we have this great office. Same at the store. We take the timber. Any timber we're not we try to reuse everything, but anything we're not reusing, we'll see who would want it. When we get rid of the steel shelving in this building that we're in now, because it used to be a warehouse, we had people buying it from us. So we'll take care of it. And we would certainly for fixtures and other things, if somebody wanted it, we'd much rather donate it than fill a landfill.
Thanks for sharing that, John. That's good. And it's good that you're doing that. I mean, repurposing is so important, especially in this world that we live in where things don't get repurposed enough. I want to share something that I learned, Shawn, I'm 55 now, so I'm slightly younger than you are. And I was trained by the Hammond Lumber Company. They sent me to a program for about a week and a half down in Northampton, Massachusetts, to learn to be a professional salesperson, right? And I'm going to bring this story full circle. I want to tell you what I learned, which was very surprising. So I'm in this class. There's probably about 50 other people that work in the building trades industry. So we're selling Andersen windows, Owens Corning fiberglass. We're learning all about the products, but simultaneously, we're learning about the psychology of the consumer. And so the psychology of the consumer is really important to understand if you're going to be an effective salesperson. And that's part of the training that they were hoping that I would take away from that. So as I'm down there, guy who's a whiz bang on this, he's a consultant, he says, okay, everybody take out a piece of paper and write down the top 5 reasons why people do business with a particular company. And, so people write down price, quality, all these things, right? Interestingly enough, he said, and he asked us to go around round table, what did you say? And I said, whatever I did. The number one reason why people do business, do you know what? You probably would know this.
That is I don't know, relationship? I don't know.
Yes and no. That's part of it, but that's not the number one. The number one is they were open.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So that's why Home Depot does a good job over the small lumber yards that close at noontime on Saturday. Because you can walk into Home Depot at 8:30 at night and buy a gallon of paint. Follow me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The other one was, the second reason was, I had a problem with what I bought, and when I brought it back, I had a very positive experience. So 2 things. LL Bean has no locks on the door, and you have a wonderful guarantee. It's changed more recently, but it still honors the consumer for making the investment in the company. And I remember thinking that, here I am out of state and coming back to my beloved Maine and thinking, that makes a lot of sense. You have in anticipating this conversation, I looked at who your main competitors are, North Face, Patagonia, maybe Orvis. But for this podcast and this conversation, they're more soft goods companies to me. Maybe not Orvis as much, but Patagonia and North Face. But one of the things that I think is unique, and it really speaks to the audience and some of the guests that I've had on, like Rob McGarry and Macaulay Lord and Emily Bash and Sue Dano, are your fly fishing schools and your outdoor
outdoor discovery program.
Thank you. Your outdoor discovery program. Talk to us about that, how that evolved. Do you remember when it started and what was the mission at the time? You may not have been a part of that, but you probably have some memories of it.
Yeah. First, I just want to respond to your, very quickly about the notion of having an issue and somebody resolved it. It's critical. And I think that the guarantee speaks to that greatly. But it's also the way we treat customers, right? Which is LL's golden rule: treat customers like human beings, and they'll always come back for more. We did a study on customers who had an issue with LLB that was resolved. They are our best customers. So it's there was this, it wasn't going to happen, but there was actually a, hey, should we make mistakes for people and figure out ways to resolve them so they come back? You get the hooks in them, but it's not how it works. But we do a good job. You call LLB and you pick up on the first ring. You don't get put into a voicemail system. So it's you actually can talk to a human pretty quickly, and that's worked really well. With regard to the outdoor discovery schools or the outdoor discovery program, this was all part of the learn, try, buy philosophy. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the biggest barriers to people going outdoors were the belief that they couldn't do it, right? So we're like, if you didn't grow up hunting and fishing, guess what? You're probably not going to do it as a kid, and your kids are certainly not going to do it if you never did it. Sometimes you can break out of that cycle, but we're trying to get people outside by introducing them to activities. So we had cross-country skiing classes, we have snowshoeing classes, we have biking classes, we have fly casting classes, we have wing shooting classes, we have paddling classes. And we did this to say, hey, these are the sports that we love and we want our customers to participate in to get maximum time outside. And it's a nominal fee. I don't know what it was, but I mean, you used to be able to spend like $30 for a 3-hour lesson. Just sign up at the retail store and we would take you down to either the paddling center or the fog farm to go fly casting. And people loved it, ate it up. And then once you go through the course, you get a coupon to go redeem at the store. People who go through those outdoor discovery programs are fabulously loyal customers. They made a connection with Bean and they love the outdoors, and our instructors are fabulous.
Yes, they are.
We don't pump huge volumes of people through these programs, and that's a wonderful thing. But those who go through share that experience with others, and we get other people signing up, and it's turned into a really nice program where, again, it breaks down that barrier where you thought you might not ever paddle in your life. We've turned people into lifelong paddlers. We get stories from customers who went to the course and talk about, week-long kayaking trips they've been on that they never dreamed they could do.
Yeah, it's a lot of things have, obviously we have the Appalachian Trail for hiking, but like the Maine Coastal Trail for sea kayaking, I bet your business introduced more people to sea kayaking. You have
absolutely.
Great program for that.
Really good.
Great instructors. I know a few of them. And fly fishing alone. I mean, again, this goes back to my original point. You can sell raincoats and you can sell shoes, but what's really hard to sell is the threshold of getting into the outdoors, and that's what the Outdoor Discovery Program does uniquely well. Yeah. And is it any new? Are they doing stand-up paddleboarding? They must be getting.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right. That's a lot. We are into that now. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Stand-up paddleboarding. Kayaking. And anything that you want to do outdoors, basically archery. We have great courses, and they're friendly for kids too. They're great for families.
Just for because our audience is sporting related, I've made some really good deals on used firearms with LLB.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously sell new stuff, but I've found you guys have really good, your buyers are buying the right thing. You offer a good price for what it is. I bought my last 2 shotguns from you guys.
Yeah, thanks. That's good to know. Like we, it's always been a fine line you walk. We've always sold hunting equipment, and, a good rifle or a good shotgun is kind of a necessary tool. Yep. We don't sell handguns.
No.
But I think when my brother was my brother Bill always kind of worked in merchandising or at the retail store in the hunt fish area, avid hunter, um, really introduced that concept of, hey, we need to look at the used gun market. And it's been incredibly successful. Like it brings people into the store, we have really quality stuff because we're only accepting the quality stuff. You come in with the junk gun, we're not gonna buy it because we don't want a consumer to have it. But the pricing is fair, and I think I'm glad to hear you liked it because we've had great success with it, and we've always heard good things about it. And it's again, talk about repurposing product.
Yeah, I had a customer of mine pass away, and his wife reached out to me and asked about, what should I do with this gun collection? And I immediately said, bring it to LLB.
Yeah.
They'll offer you, they won't undermine you on it. They'll offer you a fair value. Let's talk about your family a little bit, Shawn, because I've fished with Owen. When we went striper fishing last summer with yourself. You had a good day. I caught some nice fish, first and last, by the way. And I met Owen. He's a great young man. But you also have twin daughters.
I do.
And they're out in LA.
They are, yeah, for the time being. But yeah, they're out in LA. So Owen lives in Falmouth, Maine, so I get to see him quite a bit. But my twin girls, Chloe and Amelia, they went to school out at Loyola Marymount in LA. And every school they looked at was West Coast. So they were really happy to land there. And I thought that's nice, but hopefully they'll come back someday. They graduated in 22 and they are currently still out there and loving it. So
tell us what they're doing.
Oh, well, they're pursuing their careers in acting. So it's interesting. Again, 2 more English majors to add to the world. They thought they'd go into writing and they wanted to write screenplays or they wanted to work in the industry and they always wanted to do something in that film world.
Yeah.
And LMU is a great film school.
Okay.
But through their connections with people doing their short films for their studies at LMU, they were asked on a couple of occasions to do some acting. And then they really fell in love with it and they started taking acting courses. They actually got cast in an ABC short series, 2-part series,
like a reenactment, wasn't it?
Like a reenactment, yeah. It was like one of these drama shows of like this real life twins who were separated, very young, and one went to live with the mom, one went to live with the dad. Well, as they were talking through the stories with the real life actors, my twins were acting out the scenes that they were showing on film. And it was really cool to see your kids on, national, television at prime time at 9:00 at night. It was very cool. Yeah.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, that's a whole different world out there. Very different than Maine.
It is. It's very different. You know what, though? I will tell you that from an outdoor standpoint, LA, and I'm not going to go live there, and it's so different from Maine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get into the outskirts of LA, you're not downtown, like where they live. They're really close to like Griffith Park and Runyon Canyon and Laurel Canyon. And there are these beautiful hikes and you can get outside and really enjoy the outdoors. And it's tough to beat the weather unless it's a fire or a flood. But generally speaking, most of the time they're safe and the weather is gorgeous. So
you can be in the mountains with snow on them in no time, within an hour and a half, no problem.
Yep.
And California is a beautiful state in that way.
Yeah, it is.
But every time I travel, Shawn, and I know, I'm sure with all your international work you do with LB, you've done a ton of travel.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Every time I land at the Jetport in Portland, I realize we live in an incredible place.
We are so lucky. I mean, I love this state, and people ask all the time, "Where would you live? Where will you go when you retire?" I'm like, maybe northern Maine, like maybe somewhere more remote where I can, get out and a quicker trip to the Magalloway or some great fishing spot, or stay up at Sugarloaf for some time if I want to go skiing all winter. But yeah.
Well, and that I'm gonna piggyback on that statement. What do you see yourself doing in 10 or 15 years?
You,
Shawn.
Me,
Yeah.
I'm pretty active in the business. I'm in here every day right now as the chairman. I was exec chairman up until last year, and I was even more engaged. But as I'm knocking on 60, I start thinking about what it is I want to do, and I'm really fortunate to know that I can do a lot of things, right? So I'd like to work for a few more years, like in the role that I have now,
Sure.
this kind of heavy oversight capacity, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But there might be a time where that transitions to, if we have, with a good leadership here at Bean, transition to a less hands-on chairman and start gradually going to a place where I transition my role to one of my successors, So I have a cousin, Leon's daughter, who works at Bean and is the vice chair of the company. She works in merchandising and runs our footwear division, and she's fabulously smart but she enjoys her job, and I think she wants to have that for a while. But there will be a nice time. She's about 10 years younger than me.
Perfect.
That will transition, and I can see her moving into my role, and I can see myself enjoying a seat on the board, but having less of the burden of the day-to-day and the weight of the company on my shoulders.
Up to your knees in a trail stream somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more fun.
It is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Well, I can't join you the week that you're going, but I'm going a week and a half after, 2 weeks after. You're going to Labrador this summer.
I am going to Labrador this summer. I'm so excited for the first time. I fished in northern Quebec before, but never in Labrador. Super excited for it because I've seen pictures from your past trips there, and boy, some monster brookies up there, and landlocked. So I am really looking forward to that.
What it's going to be unique about it for you, Shawn, is that your family business is steeped in the fishing heritage of Maine, and we've loved Maine to death to a degree, meaning the fishing is not what it used to be, 125 years ago. On this trip that you're going on, you're going to look into the lens of what it was like here in Rangeley 125 years ago, where you can catch landlocked salmon over 10 pounds and brook trout over 5 pounds readily. And so that is really just, it's a privilege. And you'll also take that experience and bring it back here. Yeah. Like we talked about, having experiences in the outdoors, the restorative powers of time spent in the outdoors. That trip's going to hit a reset button for you too.
Yeah.
And I look forward to you taking that trip.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It might advance my retirement, maybe. Maybe I'll want to go live up there and get the tug drug from catching if I can catch a 5-pound brook trout or a 10-pound landlock. Yeah. That's the stuff dreams are made of.
Yeah, well, they all fight hard.
Yeah, they do. They really do. I am so looking forward to this trip, and especially be able to hang out with Ak, and my son's joining us. And I'm sorry you can't go, because you're not only a great guy and a great guide, but you're a pretty good fly fishing instructor, and I know I can always use pointers, but I was looking forward to you hanging out with Owen and giving him some pointers. But we'll have Tom there and me there, and I've got a couple other good anglers going with us.
I'll take you and Owen out fishing before you head out.
Yeah, we'll go up in the Andro and fish that sometime soon. That'd be great.
That'd be great. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. I think it's a good time to wrap up. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I just, would just like to say, hey, thanks for thinking of me for your podcast. Again, love the podcast. Glad the success you're having with it. And I was glad to be able to share a little bit of my story and Ella Bean's story with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Shawn.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for joining us for this intimate discussion. And thank you for listening to Flyline Podcast. We're proud to be sponsored by Geiger, the world's largest family-owned promotional products distributor based in Lewiston, Maine. Their support helps us share the rich history of Maine's fishing community through the stories that will be cherished for generations. A new Flyline Podcast episode is released every 2 weeks on Tuesdays, so be sure to come back to meet our next famous guest. Until then, this is Michael Jones, and we invite you to visit the blog section of our website to enjoy photos and contributions from our guests and experience all of the episodes at flylinepodcast.com.